Hey guys, so with Classic still being pretty popular, I kinda want to make my own tips video. And I know there's a lot out there, so I tried to cover things that are a little more under the radar, things that aren't so obvious, things that the game definitely doesn't tell you about. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so starting off, we have one for Alliance players. It's a little time saver. So when you show up at Stormwind from the flight point, and you want to go to Elven Forest, maybe to Goldshire, normally you have to run around the trade district and exit out the front. But you can actually do some parkour and hop down to this ledge right here. It's a little tricky if you're not comfortable with the angle you have to take, but it's kind of fun when you do it right. And there's always the risk of falling off and having to swim, and it takes about just as much time as the normal way around. So Mad Season actually covered a similar skip in his most recent tips and tricks video, but his way was actually a little bit different, and I never even knew about doing it like that. So that kind of inspired me to make my own video. And if you've already seen his, and sorry, I'm gonna have to take this one freebie. Okay, on to the next one. So you can actually ride boats from underneath the boat. Now it seems kind of silly, but there are some practical uses to it. Like if you're on a PvP server, and there's a ton of people from the opposite faction on the boat. Or if you just happen to fall off the dock while waiting for the boat. So how you do this one, you want to be near the side of the boat. I've tried doing it from directly in the front or directly in the back, and it doesn't really seem to work consistently. So it's usually best to just stick to the side, and it can be near the front or near the back. And you want to swim forward, jump, and headbutt the boat, and then try not to move too much from there. You can swim around a bit, but if you get too close to the boat or too far away from the boat, then it seems to leave you behind. Now in the game, there's a lot of invisible surfaces that seem to be just under visible surfaces. So it makes it so you can kind of climb a lot of things that aren't very obvious that you can climb. And these invisible surfaces are kind of tricky because if you run or if you jump, you seem to fall off them. But a good way to catch them is just by jumping and then tapping forward one time. Or by jumping forward and then not holding any movement keys after that. And you can get into some pretty cool places. So you can climb the inn at Sentinel Hill, or these little trade wagons, or this bar. So this next one is kind of controversial, because it's probably a bug and it might get patched in the future. But it was working during the beta and seems to be working the same way now. And if you've heard of the term sit crits, that's what this is going to be about. Now sometimes you'd want to get hit by a critical strike so that you can trigger an ability or a talent, like in Rage for Warriors. And when you're sitting, something that lands an attack on you is always going to crit. But this isn't supposed to trigger abilities like in Rage, and under normal circumstances it doesn't. But if you stand up about the same time that something hits you, you still get the critical hit, and the game will count it towards one of those abilities. It might have something to do with batching, but my latency in these clips was about 40 milliseconds, so the latency might affect how hard it is to pull off. This is probably a bug, but there really isn't a lot of info about it on the forums. Okay, so how I did it in these clips, I used a single button that sits you down and stands you up, like default X. And starting from a sit, I pushed it at the same time to stand myself up at the same time that the wolf hit me. And you can see it working by the buff popping up in the top right corner, and that little face popping up in front of my character. And you don't really want to time it with the animations, the attack animations of the mob, because that's kind of misleading. You want to time it with the number that's popping up. So you're going to have to anticipate whenever it's going to land its hit. Now it's kind of hard to pull off, so there's kind of a high skill ceiling with it. And there's probably going to be some add-ons, or there might already be some add-ons that make this way easier. But the only reason I was able to do it so consistently is because I was sitting there, constantly getting hit, so I kind of memorized when I was going to do the next hit. I also tried just spamming sit and stand, and it seems to be pretty inconsistent, and it's probably not practical, because these mobs are landing so many crits on you that it's probably not going to be worth it. And of course, I don't think this has too much practical use. In PvP, players aren't as predictable. Okay, time for something a little more simple. So a lot of people know that you could just make another character on the same server and use it as a bank alt to just extend your bank space. But another take on this is that you can actually use the mailbox also to extend it even more. And the mailbox can hold a lot of things. And now the real tip here is that each of these things of mail that you view on your bank alt, the one that you're sending the mail to, now you actually don't want to pull it out, you want to just leave it there. And then whenever you need it again on your other character, you just hit the return button. And that instantly sends it back to your main. And you don't have to wait the 1 hour. And you can access it from any mailbox, not just the bank. Now this next one's going to be pretty useful if you like to spam dungeons a lot, maybe for experience or for gold farming. But if you watch a lot of people on Twitch, then you'll probably already know about it. But whenever you finish a dungeon, sometimes it takes a bit to run all the way to the front of the dungeon and then run out, reset it to run back in. There's a way that you can skip the first half of that part and skip to the part where you enter in the resetted dungeon. Now it's pretty easy to do, but you are going to need someone to help you out. So what you have to do, you have to invite someone or have someone be in the party. Now you can invite them, they can invite you. I don't think it matters, as long as they're not inside an instance themselves. But once they're in the party, you would make them leader, and then you would log out. Maybe give it like 10 seconds after you log out, and then let them know to reset the dungeon. And then once they reset the dungeon, maybe just wait 10 more seconds, and then you log back in. And you'll be right at the entrance from the inside of the dungeon, and it's already reset at that point, so you can go ahead and get started. And they can be in the party the whole time, or just at the very end whenever you want to reset it. And while you're doing those dungeons fast, you probably want to loot fast while you're at it. So if you have auto loot on, you're already kind of looting pretty fast, but there's a way to speed it up even more. So whenever you right click something to loot it, typically your character bends down, and then the loot window pops up, and the items move one by one out of the loot window and into your bag. Now there's a way to skip all that and just let it do that in the background while you keep running around. And whenever you right click to loot something, as soon as the looting animation starts, that's kind of when you're good to start moving. Or if you want to play it safe, as soon as the loot window pops up, you can just start running from there. And everything will just get sent to your bag. Now this one's my favorite one by far so far. Now we might not have moonwalking anymore, but this is pretty good. So what it is, it's a way to kind of walk with your animations. Now unfortunately, if you're another race that's not a human, it seems to be way harder. Maybe it's Blizzard bias, maybe it's just human master race, but at least for me, it seems to be definitely the easiest to do on human. So what you do, you start an animation, could be a sit, dance, and then you want to tap forward, maybe W, maybe the forward key, maybe the 2 mouse clicks, but you want to keep tapping forward. And you can even turn while doing it. Now it needs to be kind of rhythmic also, and kind of fast. Now I actually didn't think it was doable on any other race besides human, but then I saw a video that someone put on Reddit of them doing it on an orc. So I knew it could be done, so I tried it again, and you can do it, it's just way harder. You have to tap way faster. So there's a lot of animations you can do with this. Alright, no more fun, we gotta get back to grinding. And if you play a warrior like me, or if you struggle with 2 mobs like me, then typically these camps are going to be a death sentence. But there's a way to kind of separate some of the mobs from the other ones, and it's really useful for whenever you're a class like me. So what you have to do, you have to hit one of the mobs, and then start running, and probably hit it a couple more times. But make sure you don't touch any of the other ones. So this is going to kind of move the aggro radius of one of those mobs, and since you're not hitting the other ones will reset before the one that you're hitting does reset. And this is a way you can kind of divide and conquer these little camps. And that's exactly how some people like kite dragons to Stormwind. Okay, and the last one is about Hearthstones. So I think everyone knows by now that when you talk to an innkeeper, it sets it to your home location, which is always at inns. But I'm sure not everyone knows that exactly where you're standing and where you're facing whenever you set your home location is gonna be where your Hearthstone puts you. So if you like to go fast like me, then typically I'll maybe stand on a railing so that I don't have to jump over the railing whenever I want to hurry up and run out of the inn, and I'll always be facing towards the door. But you can also use this in other ways, maybe for like RP reasons, standing at the bar. Or if you want to be next to the fireplace so you can start cooking if you cook a lot. Whenever it's being set is whenever you get this prompt right here. And then you click yes, and it does a little whoosh noise. And then exactly from where you're standing, where you're facing, is where it's going to take you whenever you hearth. Now I've tried sitting and laying down. That didn't seem to affect it. It's always going to put you standing, as if you're standing right there, whenever you set it. Now you may have known that, but you can actually set your Hearthstone while using your Hearthstone and going to another location to make it kind of like a round trip. So in this example, I'm in Stormwind and my Hearthstone is set to Ironforge. Now if I wanted to make a round trip back to Stormwind, right at the end of the Hearthstone cast, you want to confirm your new Hearthstone location. It's kind of similar to, I'm not sure if everyone knows about this, but whenever you're casting your mount or casting any spell, like right at the end of it, you can start moving or you can start casting another spell. And it might say interrupted, but it still goes off, which probably has to do with the latency. So I imagine it's easier if you have higher. And that's all I got. Alright guys, I hope this helped out. Take care.
See you later.